Hello, everyone, and welcome to my bone casting energy forecast for the year of 2024. So as you can see, we've got a little bit of a different setup than I usually have. That's because this poster board here, there's a section for every month, and I'm going to give you a little bit of an idea of what to expect for the coming year. So as you can see, we've got quite a cluster of objects right here. So this slice here is January, and I'm gonna start with this guy here. This is the fox jaw, and as you can see, it's almost like right on the line here. So it's like January, but it's sort of leading into February as well. And that speaks to me of this sort of feeling of helplessness, this feeling of wanting to start off the year in a big, meaningful way, and maybe not being fully able to do that. But this is very much a temporary sensation. This is something that is going to pass with time, but the year isn't like off to a rocket start. So next we're gonna look at this chess piece here. It as you can see, it's sort of narrowly in the slice. And it's interesting because it's almost an opposite meaning to the fox jaw, in that this is very much a piece that represents having power, being able to sort of move through life in your own way and make things happen for yourself. So it's interesting that these two pieces sort of juxtapose each other, but they're it's sort of like starting off with the mindset, but then sort of leading into the helplessness. And the next thing we've got right here is the little bottle here. I'm not sure if this has come up in any of my readings before, but this bottle was given to me by a friend, and at the time it was full of water from the Ganges River. And all the water has soaked up into the cork. So this is sort of a message of absorbing things around you that are of spiritual portent. So in January, you're going to see some spiritual stuff happening, some movement happening in that front. And it's very much important that you sort of sit in these sensations, sit with this knowledge, and sort of absorb it as best you can so that you're able to sort of use it and move with it and share it and evolve with it. And here we've got this little piece is Red Riding Hood. She's upside down, but so this is interesting because it's both in January but also in December. So what this speaks to me is we're going to sort of see some seeds being planted in January that aren't going to come to fully to fruition till later in the year. So some things are starting to happen. If you remember the story of Little Red Riding Hood, it's sort of about the evolution of youthfulness, of childishness, of naivete, and sort of how that evolves into something, more knowledgeable, something stronger, something more capable. So you're going to see a lot of growth this year. So next, let's talk about February. So we've got 3 pieces here in February. We've got this, the gopher skull, and the gopher skull is upside down. So what this is speaking to, it's interesting that this is sort of in the month of Groundhog Day, where groundhogs, sort of predict the future a little bit. So this is sort of a sign of precognition, and you're going to get some knowledge in February that's going to help you throughout the year. But I don't think you're going to be fully capable of understanding it. You're not going to fully appreciate its meanings. It's not going to be fully clear to you. So you're going to get this knowledge, but you're not going to really know what to do with it yet. And over here we've got an acorn, and this is all about planting seeds. So, as we often see in the new year, this is a time where we tend to set big goals, set resolutions, aspirations, things that we want to accomplish. And this is sort of about doing the work to plant the seeds so that later in the year they can come to fruition. And the other guy we've got here is a beaver's tooth. And the beaver's tooth is all about slow wearing away of things. So what this is sort of saying, because it's almost interacting with the acorn, is to sort of be mindful of how you're spending your energy as you plant these seeds. You're not going to be able to do 100 different goals. That's just not realistic. So it's sort of deciding which goals, which resolutions are the most important to you, and making, the decisions to water those seeds and, nurture those ones so that you're not spread too thin trying to do too much at the same time. So as you can see, there is nothing in March. March is a month of rest. You're not going to see a lot of movement in a good direction or in a bad direction. It's just sort of a month to take care of yourself and to nurture yourself and your health. And April, we're just seeing the beginnings of something here. So we've got the action item, which is the bracelet, and we've seen that several times. So you know that anything that lands inside that that bracelet is something you can actively work on. You're not going to fully be able to achieve what you want in April, but you will see it sort of start to happen. So you can sort of start to work on it, but don't expect too much too quickly. And inside the action item here, we've got a snake skin. So this is all about growth and changing and shedding that which no longer serves you. So this is a month to sort of take stock of how you want to grow and change and evolve and figure out what in your life is helping you achieve this and what is either not helping you or maybe actively holding you back from achieving it. So start taking stock of these sort of things in April so that when you get into May, you're more able to fully realize them, to sort of, take off running and do the work that needs to be done for you to grow and change. And the other thing we've got in May is this corncob pipe, which is kind of a funny place for it to be because usually we think of it as being a more wintry thing, with a snowman. But what this is speaking to me of is taking a mindset of how can I help the earth? If you're anything like me, you have a strong desire to help protect the earth, in order to do some of the work to reverse climate change, do what you can in your own small way to make the earth a better, greener place that's going to be able to preserve it for future generations. So this is a sign to be mindful of how am I impacting the earth? How can I change my impact on the earth so that it's maybe a smaller impact or a better impact? So sort of looking at things with a green mindset. And June. Interesting is we've only got one thing in here, and it's fully in the month. This is the raccoon baculum. And if you're not familiar with what that means, that's the penis bone. So this is a month of, when this comes up, we often think of it in a very literal term of masculine energy, but it doesn't have to mean like a literal male person. It can be identifying and working with our own more masculine traits, things that are typically thought of as being male roles, leadership, strength, power, those kind of things, accessing those sides of yourself, and figuring out how you can, move through earth in a more confident way, in a more powerful way, standing in your own power and using it to help yourself, but also to help others. And in July, we just have one item again, and that's this little anchor piece. And, this is a very, very concrete message. It's all about standing your ground, much as June was about standing in your power. This is
a very similar message, but it's like, people are going to try and knock you off your feet, especially if you're, claiming your own power. And people don't always like it when you stand up for yourself and, refuse to be kowtowed. So this is very much a message to, ignore those people who might want you to bow down to them and their way of thinking, and really making sure that you stay strong as much as you possibly can.
Now, August, we've got a busy, busy month here. We've got several items here. Let's start with the seahorse here. And this is sort of, it often speaks to me of male role models in our lives. Seahorses are very unique in that it's the father that does the child rearing. He, holds the eggs in his pouch and he looks after them. So this is sort of a message to look at your paternal lineage, and maybe doing some healing of father wounds. And it doesn't necessarily have to be, within the past generation. It could be generations back. There could be, unhealed residual resentment and anger and hurt feelings. And we're able to, we can go back and look at those things and heal the generational trauma that still resides in yourself, but, in our ancestors who, maybe are still on the... Okay, I was interrupted there for a second. As I was saying, look at some of the ancestors that maybe are close to the earth still. They might have hurt feelings that are preventing them from moving on. So maybe you can help some ancestor to move on. The next thing we've got here, this is a piece of mummy wrapping. And this is looking at preserving your memory for the future. And this isn't always how I would read it, but what this is saying to me is sort of looking at your legacy and how you want people to remember you. And, even if you're very young, you're in great health, it's never too early or too late to look at how you're casting a shadow on this earth, and whether that's in a good way or a bad way, and is this how you want to be remembered, and if it's not, taking steps to change that, and if it is, taking steps to preserve that. Next here we've got, this is a piece of fossilized dinosaur poop, and this is about casting away things that no longer serve us, much like the snake skin was a message of that. This is also a message of getting rid of things in your life that are toxic, and not even toxic, just, not beneficial. And this is a very concrete reminder. This is, I tend to read the snakeskin as meaning people in our lives, but this is like, getting rid of literal crap, like, possessions, earthly things that you no longer need that are maybe holding you back. This could be like, doing a Marie Kondo of your life and, getting rid of stuff that no longer sparks joy. Just something, that might be weighing you down a little. And this guy here, this is a skunk jaw. And this is not how I would normally read it, but I don't know if you can see it, but one of the incisors here is actually broken since the last time I've read with it. So what this message is sort of, looking at things that you, the word that wants to come up is walls that you have put up to defend yourself, and looking at whether they're serving you properly. Because sometimes we put up walls to protect ourselves, but they end up keeping out, things that might bring us joy, that might bring us love. And so this is sort of analyzing how we protect ourselves and if these methods are still serving us today. And here we've got, this is a geode, but it's interesting that it's fallen
face down, so we can't see the beautiful part of it. So this is very much a message of taking stock of things in our life that you may have judged harshly, particularly based on appearance, and re-examining some of our biases, some of our prejudices, and taking steps to unlearn toxic mentalities that might actively be preventing us from moving forward in life. So all in all, August is very much a time to re-examine our life and the things, the people, the mindsets, all of those sorts of things that are in our life currently, and deciding if those are still going to serve you in the future. So next we've got September. And so we're going to start with this puzzle piece here. And this is a message of fitting in the collective good, looking at the bigger picture. But because it's upside down and we can't actually see what the picture is, this is sort of making peace with the knowledge that we don't always have all the information we need at any given moment, but we don't always have the option to wait for the whole picture to become clear. Sometimes we have to act with urgency, and it's important that, we are doing this with the best possible intentions. So as I understand it, August is all about looking at our own personal biases and things like that, so that when we have to act, we're doing it from the right mindset of love and, light and positivity. And next here, we've got this little arrow, bow and arrow. And this is it's interesting that it's pointing into August. So that's a very, very unique aspect of it. Is usually, when we're aiming at something, it's like looking forward. So this is sort of like looking back at, how we've been in the past, not just in August specifically, but, our entire past, and deciding if this is how you want to continue to move forward. So this is very much a month of introspection, and that plays into the mirror as well, is that like looking at ourselves critically. This is a very much a month of taking stock of you, yourself, and doing internal work, and learning as much as you can about yourself, so that moving forward, you're doing it in the right way. Okay, so October. We just got two things in the month of October, and we've got this is a bumblebee, and it's interesting because when I was casting the bones, several things that are in little orbs like this were cast, but all of them rolled off the mat except for this one. So that's very interesting to me. With the bee always speaks to me of cooperation, teamwork, you doing things for the collective good. And in this, considering that the bee is the only one that remained on the mat, this is maybe a message that we have to sometimes think of the collective good at the expense of everything else. So, I'm not supposed to tell you any more than this. This is something you're supposed to think about and do some critical thinking on and decide what that means for you. And the octopus tentacle here. This is, there's a long thought process that's just occurring right now, and I'm not going to explain it all to you because it gets a little esoteric. But basically, this is a message to look outwards. And this is like on a very huge scale, like looking outwards at things that maybe don't make sense to you. Like this is looking into the future long term. This is very much a message of, reflecting into the future. And once again, I'm not supposed to give you any more information on that. And here we've got November, and November is another month where you're doing self-care.
preparing for a very, very busy December. So this is the time to relax while you still can. And so we've got here the Cayman Scute, and this is upside down again. So this is sort of like armor. This is protecting yourself from things that are meant to wound you. This is sort of a message of having a thick skin. This is all about protecting yourself. And I actually think, while it does mean a little bit protecting yourself from like words that can hurt, this is a, also a strong message to protect yourself spiritually, energetically. This is a month to like cleanse your house, your apartment, like cleanse it energetically, set up energy pyramids, get rid of any negative entities and energies that might be in your living space, but also in yourself personally. Negative energies can attach to us quite easily, and this is an important message that you need to be doing some cleansing work. So over here we've got the coconut, and this is a message about, interestingly enough, it's about looking towards the new year, looking at making resolutions, making changes, looking at how you want to move forward into 2025, start thinking about the future and how you want to live your life in the coming year. And then here we've got, this is a buffalo tooth. So this is about practicality. It's about using everything to its fullest potential in the way that natives would use as much of the buffalo as they possibly could. This is about using things till they wear out, reusing, recycling, being very green-minded once again. As we move into, January, we start to think about spring cleaning. And, this is maybe a message to do so in a very green, ecological manner. And the final thing that I'm going to talk about is Red Riding Hood once again. So as I mentioned, this is, there were seeds planted in January, and you're going to start seeing these come to fruition. Things that, you've been working on all year are going to start to manifest and materialize, and this is in a very good, positive way. Like, you're going to see successes coming to you, and I think that this means that leading into 2025, there's going to be a lot of really good things happening for you. So this is just a reminder that stuff that you're working on doesn't always happen right away. Change takes time, growth takes time, and not to sort of lose hope when you don't see immediate results from something that really is important to you, like things that matter to you. Trust that the universe is doing the work and is going to help you succeed if you just continue to work at it. This is, as cheesy as it sounds, it's a never give up message.